Queen Zerothal pressed her hand against the cool surface of the crystal window and watched her world slowly fade away. The great red sun that had warmed her planet for thousands of years was getting dimmer each day. What used to be a bright, glowing star now looked like a dying ember in the dark sky. She had ruled the planet Zarian for over 200 years, but today felt like the hardest day of her entire life. Behind her, the palace hummed with the worried voices of her advisors and scientists. They'd been meeting for weeks, trying to find a solution to save their dying world. "My queen," called Dr. Vexstar, her chief scientist. His voice carried the weight of terrible news. "The planet's core is failing faster than we expected. Our energy mining operations over the centuries have damaged it beyond repair." Zerothal turned away from the window. Her people had always been proud of their advanced technology. They could travel between stars, cure any disease, and create wonders that seemed like magic. But now, all their knowledge couldn't save the very ground beneath their feet. "How long do we have?" she asked, though she feared the answer. 2 Earth years, maybe less," Dr. Vexstar replied. "The core will collapse completely, and when it does, our atmosphere will be torn away. Nothing will survive." The queen felt her heart sink. 7 billion people lived on Zarian. 7 billion souls who trusted her to protect them. And now she was failing them in the worst possible way. "What about the colony ships?" she asked. "Can we evacuate everyone?" Another advisor, Commander Colwyn, stepped forward. "We've been working on this for months, Your Majesty. We've explored 47 different star systems. We found planets with water, planets with the right temperature, even planets with breathable air. But none of them have the mineral composition our bodies need to survive." Zerothal knew this was true. Her people had evolved on Zarian over millions of years. Their bodies needed specific elements that existed in their soil, their water, their very air. Without these elements, they would slowly weaken and die, even on the most beautiful worlds. "There is one possibility," Dr. Vexstar said quietly, "but you're not going to like it." The queen straightened her shoulders. "Tell me everything." "We've been studying a planet called Earth. It's in a distant galaxy, about 3,000 light-years away. The beings there call themselves humans." "Humans," Zerothal repeated. She had heard this word before in their research reports. "Yes, Your Majesty. They're primitive compared to us, but they have something remarkable. Their genetic structure is incredibly flexible. They can adapt to different environments in ways we cannot." Commander Colwyn pulled up a holographic display showing images of Earth. Blue oceans, green forests, white clouds swirling around a beautiful planet. "We've been monitoring their transmissions for years. They're curious about space, about life beyond their world. Some of them are actively searching for contact with other civilizations." Zerothal studied the images. The humans looked so different from her people. They were smaller, with strange hair on their heads, and skin that came in many colors. But there was something in their eyes that looked familiar. Intelligence. Hope. The same thing she saw in her own people? "What does this have to do with saving our world?" she asked. Dr. Vexstar hesitated. "Our research shows that if we combine our DNA with theirs, we can create offspring that can survive in multiple environments. The children would be stronger than either species alone." The queen felt a chill run through her body. "Are you suggesting we interbreed with these humans? Not all of us, Your Majesty? But a small number of our people could have children with humans. These hybrid children could survive on Earth while retaining our knowledge and abilities. They could be the bridge between our civilizations." Zerothal walked back to the window. The distance, she could see the great city of Velthorn, where millions of her people lived and worked. Children played in the crystal gardens while their parents built wonders of technology. All of this would be gone soon. "Even if this plan could work," she said, "how would we convince the humans to help us? They don't even know we exist." "We would have to make contact," Commander Colwyn said. "We would have to trust them with our greatest secret." The queen thought about her own daughter, Kirillin. She was the light of Zerathal's life, a brilliant child who could already manipulate energy fields and communicate through thought alone. The idea of sending her to live among strangers on a distant world was almost unbearable. But then she thought about all the other children on Zarian. Every parent who trusted her to keep their families safe. Every child who deserved a chance to grow up and have children of their own. Would the process be safe? She asked. Dr. Vexstar looked uncomfortable. The genetic modification would be dangerous. We estimate a 70% chance of success. But Your Majesty, the children chosen for this program would need to be very special. They would need to be strong, intelligent, and adaptable. Zaratho closed her eyes. She knew what he was really saying. He was talking about her daughter. Kirillin was the most gifted child of her generation. If this plan had any chance of working, it would require the best they had to offer. How many children would we need to send? She asked. Ideally, several dozen to ensure genetic diversity. But if we had to start with just one, it would need to be someone extraordinary. The queen felt tears forming in her eyes. In her culture, tears were rare. Her people had learned to control their emotions centuries ago. But the thought of losing her daughter, of never seeing her again, broke something inside her. I need time to think, she said. Your Majesty, we don't have much time, Dr. Vexstar warned. If we're going to do this, we need to begin preparations immediately. Zaratho nodded. I understand. Give me until tomorrow, I'll have my decision then. As her advisors filed out of the room, the queen remained at the window. The dying sun cast long shadows across her palace, and she could hear the distant sounds of her people going about their daily lives. They trusted her to find a way to save them. But the price of salvation might be higher than anyone could imagine. That night, she went to her daughter's room and watched her sleep. Kirillin looked so peaceful, so innocent. How could she even consider sending this precious child to live among strangers? But then she thought about all the other sleeping children across her planet. If she did nothing, they would all perish when their world died. The hardest decisions, she realized, were often the ones that required the greatest sacrifice. Sometimes, the only way to save everyone you love is to let go of the one you love most. Dr. Elena Vasquez rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the computer screen for the 100th time that night. The coffee had gone cold hours ago, but she couldn't bring herself to leave her desk. Something strange was happening in the signals from space, and she was the only one who seemed to notice. For 3 months now, her equipment at the research center had been picking up unusual patterns. At first, she thought it was just interference from satellites, or maybe solar activity. But the more she studied the data, the more convinced she became that these signals were different from anything she had ever seen. Alina had been searching for signs of alien life for 15 years. Most of her colleagues thought she was wasting her time. They believed that if intelligent life existed somewhere in the universe, it would be too far away to ever make contact. But Alina never gave up hope. She knew that somewhere out there, other beings were looking up at the stars just like humans did. Tonight felt different. The signals were stronger and more complex than ever before. Alina pulled up the latest readings and felt her heart skip a beat. The patterns weren't random at all. They looked like mathematics. She quickly called her research partner, Dr. Chen, even though it was past midnight. This better be important, Chen said sleepily when he answered the phone. Chen, you need to come to the lab right now. I think I found something incredible. Alina, we've been through this before. Remember last year when you thought those radio bursts were alien messages? They turned out to be from a broken microwave in the cafeteria. This is different, Alina insisted. These signals are showing mathematical sequences, prime numbers, geometric patterns, even what looks like star charts. Please, just come and look. An hour later, Chen arrived at the lab looking skeptical but curious. Alina showed him the data, pointing out the patterns she had discovered. As Chen studied the information, his expression changed from doubt to amazement. He whispered, "These calculations are more advanced than anything we've developed. Look at this section here. It's showing the exact position of our solar system from an outside perspective." Alina nodded excitedly. Look at this part. It's biological data. DNA sequences, but not from any life form on Earth. I think someone is trying to communicate with us. The two scientists worked through the night, analyzing every piece of data. By morning, they had decoded enough of the signal to understand that it was indeed a message from an intelligent civilization. But what shocked them most was the content of the message. "They're asking for help," Chen said, staring at the translated text. They're looking for genetic specialists and medical experts. Why would aliens need human doctors? Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Maybe they're not looking for doctors to help them. Maybe they're looking for doctors to help us understand something. Over the next few days, more messages arrived. Alina and Chen worked around the clock to decode them. Keeping their discovery secret from the rest of the research team, they knew that if word got out, the government would take over the project. They might never learn the truth. The messages told an incredible story. The aliens called themselves Zerians, and they were from a planet called Zerion. Their world was dying, and they were desperately searching for a way to save their people. But they weren't asking for a new planet to live on. They were asking for something much more personal. Elena's hands shook as she read the latest translation. The message was addressed specifically to her, somehow knowing her name and her work in genetics. It was signed by someone calling herself Queen Zerathal. Dr. Vasquez, the message began. I know this contact must be frightening for you, but I am reaching out because I believe you can help both our species in ways you cannot yet imagine. The message went on to explain that the Zerians had been studying human genetics for years. They discovered that humans had a unique ability to adapt to different environments, something that could be combined with Zerian abilities to create stronger, more capable offspring. I am not asking you to save my people, the message continued. I am asking you to save my daughter. In return, I offer you knowledge that could transform your world. Lena read the message over and over again. The queen was asking her to help create a hybrid child, part human and part alien. The child would be raised on Earth as a human, but would possess abilities that could bridge the gap between the two species. This is impossible, Chen said when Alina showed him the message. Even if we could trust these aliens, the biological challenges would be enormous. We don't know anything about their physiology or whether such a hybrid could even survive. Alina was fascinated. The queen had included detailed biological data about her people, showing that, despite their different appearance, Zerians and humans shared surprising genetic similarities. It was almost as if both species had evolved from a common ancestor somewhere in the distant past. More messages arrived daily. The queen shared holographic images of her daughter, a beautiful child with large, expressive eyes and an aura of intelligence that seemed to shine from within. The child could manipulate energy with her thoughts, communicate without speaking, and solve complex problems that would challenge the best human scientists. Her name is Kirillin, the queen explained in one message. She is the most gifted child of her generation. If she were to remain on Zerion, she would die with the rest of us when our world ends. But if she comes to Earth, she could live and grow, and perhaps one day help both our peoples reach for the stars together. Lena found herself thinking about the alien child constantly. She had never had children of her own, dedicating her life to her research instead. But something about this situation touched her heart in a way she had never experienced before. The queen's messages became more personal over time. She shared stories about her daughter's childhood, her hopes and fears, her dreams of a future that might never come. Alina began to understand that this wasn't just about saving a civilization. It was about a mother's love and the lengths she would go to protect her child. I know I am asking you to take an enormous risk, the queen wrote in her latest message. I am asking you to trust a stranger from another world with something precious beyond measure. But I believe that love can transcend the distances between stars, and that hope can survive even when everything else seems lost. Alina stared at the message on her screen and felt tears forming in her eyes. Somewhere in the vast darkness of space, a mother was preparing to give up her child to save her people. And somehow, that mother had chosen her to be the bridge between two worlds. The weight of the decision pressed down on her shoulders. If she said yes, she would be changing the course of human history. If she said no, an entire civilization might perish, and a gifted child would die with them. Alina looked up at the stars through her office window and wondered if Queen Zerathal was looking at the same stars from her dying world, to mothers, separated by thousands of light years, connected by an impossible choice that could save or doom them both. Alina couldn't sleep. For 3 weeks now, she had been having the same dream. She was standing in a vast field of stars, holding the hand of a child who glowed with a soft golden light. The child looked up at her with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages, and whispered words in a language Alina didn't understand, but somehow felt in her heart. Every morning, she woke up thinking about Queen Zarathal's daughter. The holographic recordings the alien queen had sent were unlike anything Alina had ever seen. Kirillin wasn't just a child, she was a miracle of evolution. A being who could bend light with her thoughts and solve mathematical equations that challenged the greatest minds on Earth. "You're driving yourself crazy," Guchin said as he found Alina staring at the holographic display for the 100th time. "You haven't left the lab in days." Alina touched the projection, and her hand passed through the image of the alien child. "Look at her, Chen. Really look. She's not just advanced. She's special in a way that goes beyond intelligence. The queen says she can feel the emotions of others, that she can heal injuries with her touch." "That's exactly what worries me," Chen replied. "What if this is all some kind of trick? What if these aliens are planning to use this child as a weapon against us?" Alina had wondered the same thing. But the more she communicated with Queen Zarathal, the more convinced she became that the alien ruler was genuine. The queen's messages were filled with a mother's love and desperation that felt too real to be fake. "She's not asking for our technology or our resources," Alina said. "She's offering us things we can't even imagine. Clean energy, faster than light travel, cures for diseases we've never been able to treat. All she wants is for her daughter to survive." The latest message from the queen had included something that changed everything. It was a complete genetic analysis of the hybridization process, showing exactly how a human and Xerian child could be created. The procedure was dangerous and complex, but it was possible. The child would need to undergo genetic modification before birth, Alina explained to Chen as they reviewed the data. Her alien DNA would be altered to allow her to survive in Earth's environment. But the process is risky. If something goes wrong, the child could die. Chen studied the genetic charts with growing amazement. "This is incredible. They're not just combining human and alien DNA, they're creating something entirely new. A being that could potentially survive in multiple environments, with abilities that neither species possesses alone." Alina nodded. "But that's not the hardest part. The queen says the child would need to be raised as a human, with no knowledge of her true origins until she's fully grown. She would need to live a completely normal life, go to school, make friends, never knowing that she's different." "Why?" Chen asked. "Protection," Alina said quietly. "If people knew what she was, they would either try to study her like a lab animal or fear her as a threat. She would never have a chance at a normal childhood." The weight of the decision was crushing. Alina had spent her entire career searching for proof that humanity wasn't alone in the universe. Now that proof was being offered to her, along with the chance to raise a child who could change the future of both species. But Alina had never been a mother. She had dedicated her life to science, believing that her work was more important than starting a family. The idea of suddenly becoming responsible for such an extraordinary child terrified her. "I don't know if I can do this," she admitted to Chen. "What if I'm not good enough? What if I make mistakes that hurt her?" "Alina, you're one of the most caring people I know," Chen said gently. "You spent your whole life trying to help humanity reach for the stars. Maybe this is how you're meant to do it." Over the following days, Alina found herself researching everything she could about child development, genetics, and interspecies biology. She consulted with experts around the world, though she couldn't tell them the real reason for her questions. The more she learned, the more she understood what Queen Zarathal was really asking. This wasn't just about saving one child. It was about creating a bridge between two civilizations. The hybrid child would grow up understanding both human and alien ways of thinking, potentially becoming the key to peaceful contact between the species. But there were risks beyond the medical ones. What if the child felt isolated, knowing she was different from everyone around her? What if she resented being kept from her true heritage? What if Alina wasn't strong enough to handle the challenges of raising such a unique being? Alina's breakthrough came when she received a new message from the queen. This one was different from the others. It was personal, mother to mother. "Dr. Vasquez," the message began, "I know you have never had children of your own, but I can see in your communications that you have the heart of a mother. I am not asking you to replace me in my daughter's life. I am asking you to give her the love and guidance she will need to grow into the person she is meant to become." The message continued with stories about Kirill's childhood, how she had learned to walk by floating 6 inches off the ground, how she had comforted other children when they were sad, somehow knowing exactly what they needed to hear, how she had once healed a bird by holding it gently in her hands. "She is not just my daughter," the queen wrote. "She is hope itself, wrapped in the form of a child. She represents the possibility that different forms of life cannot only coexist, but can create something beautiful together." Lena felt tears streaming down her face as she read the message. She could feel the queen's love for her daughter, but also her willingness to sacrifice everything for the greater good. The final part of the message contained an offer that took Elena's breath away. "If you agree to this, I will not abandon my daughter completely. I will place my memories, my knowledge, and my love for her into a special crystal. When she is old enough to understand, she will be able to access these memories and know who she really is."
Ow.
With her always, Lena stared at the message for a long time. The queen was offering her the chance to be part of something incredible, the first step toward a future where humans and aliens could work together to explore the universe. But more than that, she was offering Elena the chance to be a mother. To a child who would need all the love and protection she could give. Elena looked up at the stars through her office window and made her decision. Somewhere out there, a dying world was waiting for her answer. A desperate mother was preparing to give up everything she loved. And a special child was waiting to be born into a new world. Elena picked up her communicator and began typing her response to Queen Zarathal. Her hands shook as she wrote the words that would change both their lives forever. "I accept." The Nevada desert stretched endlessly in all directions, empty except for the small group of people gathered around the landing site. Elena stood with her hands pressed against her stomach, feeling the strange sensation of carrying a child that wasn't quite human and wasn't quite alien. Somehow both. 3 months had passed since she had agreed to Queen Zarathal's request. 3 months of preparation, medical procedures, and sleepless nights, wondering if she was making the right choice. The genetic modifications Elena had undergone were unlike anything ever attempted in human history. Her body had been changed at the cellular level to allow her to safely carry and birth a hybrid child. "Are you sure you're ready for this, Doctor?" Chen asked as he checked the monitoring equipment one final time. He had been Elena's closest support throughout the entire process, helping her navigate the complex medical procedures and the emotional challenges that came with them. Elena nodded. Though her heart was racing with nervousness, had been ready for weeks. The baby is healthy, and all the tests show that the genetic integration was successful. She's going to be perfect. Around them, a small team of carefully selected scientists and government officials waited in tense silence. Everyone present had been sworn to secrecy, understanding that what they were about to witness would change the course of human history forever. The sky above them was clear and dark, filled with more stars than Elena had ever seen. Somewhere among those distant lights was the dying world of Zarian, where Queen Zarathal was preparing to make the greatest sacrifice any mother could make. "Contact in 60 seconds, announced Colonel Rivera, the military liaison who had been assigned to oversee the meeting. Despite his tough exterior, Elena could see the wonder in his eyes. Like everyone else, he was about to witness something that would have been pure science fiction just a year ago. Elena felt the baby move inside her, a gentle flutter that reminded her of the miracle she was carrying. The child was almost ready to be born. Elena had spent weeks preparing for the moment when she would finally hold her daughter in her arms. A soft humming sound filled the air. Growing louder by the second, Elena looked up and saw a small light approaching from the horizon. As it grew closer, she could make out the shape of a craft unlike anything built by human hands. It moved without any visible propulsion, seeming to glide through the air as if gravity had no effect on it. "My God," whispered Dr. Chen. "It's beautiful." The ship landed silently on the desert floor, its surface shimmering like liquid metal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, A section of the craft opened without any visible seam. A figure emerged. Queen Zarathal was taller than Alina had expected, with long limbs and skin that seemed to glow with an inner light. She moved with a grace that was almost hypnotic, and her eyes held a depth of wisdom that spoke of centuries of experience. But despite her alien appearance, Alina could see something unmistakably familiar in her expression. The face of a mother about to lose her child. The queen carried a small bundle in her arms, wrapped in what looked like starlight woven into fabric. Alina's breath caught in her throat as she realized she was looking at Kirillin for the first time. "Dr. Vasquez," the queen said, her voice carrying a musical quality that seemed to resonate in Alina's bones. The translation device she wore converted her words into perfect English, but Alina could hear the emotion underneath that needed no translation. "Your Majesty," Alina replied, bowing her head respectfully. "I'm honored to meet you." The queen approached slowly, her eyes never leaving Alina's face. "You have agreed to something that no parent should ever have to consider. You have opened your heart to a child who is not of your world, and you have prepared your body to carry her safely into existence. Can never repay such kindness." Alina felt tears forming in her eyes. "You don't need to repay me. I'm doing this because I believe in what you're trying to achieve. I believe that love can exist between any two beings, regardless of where they come from." The queen smiled, and Alina was struck by how human the expression looked despite their differences. "May I see her?" Alina nodded and lifted her shirt, revealing the gentle curve of her pregnancy. The queen placed her hand on Alina's stomach, and immediately, Alina felt a warm sensation spread through her body. The baby kicked, as if responding to her biological mother's touch. "She knows you," Alina whispered. "She's been waiting for you." The queen closed her eyes and seemed to communicate with the unborn child in a way that Alina couldn't understand but could feel. After a moment, she opened her eyes and stepped back. "The time has come," she said quietly. "Are you prepared for the birth?" Alina nodded. The medical team had set up a temporary facility in the desert, equipped with both human and alien technology. The birth would be unlike anything ever recorded, requiring precise coordination between two completely different medical systems. The process took hours. Alina had expected pain, but instead, she felt a strange sense of peace washing over her. The alien technology seemed to work in harmony with her body, guiding the birth with a gentleness that was almost magical. When the baby finally emerged, Alina heard gasps of amazement from everyone present. Kirillin was the most beautiful child Alina had ever seen, with features that were somehow both human and alien. Her skin had a subtle luminescence, and her eyes held an intelligence that seemed far beyond her newborn state. Queen Zarathal approached the medical table where Alina held her daughter. The alien queen's composure finally cracked, and tears flowed freely down her face. "She is perfect," the queen whispered. "She is everything I hoped she would be." Alina looked down at the baby in her arms and felt an overwhelming surge of love. This was her daughter now, a bridge between two worlds, a living symbol of hope for both species. "What happens now?" Alina asked. The queen reached into her robes and pulled out a small crystal that seemed to contain swirling lights. "This contains my memories, my knowledge, and my love for her. When she is old enough to understand who she really is, give this to her. It will help her connect with her heritage while still allowing her to live as a human." Alina took the crystal, feeling its warmth against her palm. "I promise I'll take good care of her. I'll love her as if she were my own." "She's your own," the queen said firmly. "Biology is just one way that mothers and children are connected. Love is far more powerful than genetics." The queen leaned down and kissed her daughter's forehead, whispering words in her alien language that Alina didn't understand but knew were important. Then she straightened up and began walking back to her ship. "Will I ever see you again?" Alina called after her. The queen paused at the entrance to her craft. "Perhaps. If our people survive, if we find a new home among the stars, maybe one day our paths will cross again. But for now, my daughter's future is in your hands." The ship lifted off silently, disappearing into the star-filled sky. Alina stood alone in the desert, holding the most precious gift in the universe, knowing that her life had just changed forever. Alina watched her daughter blow out the candles on her 18th birthday cake. And for a moment, she saw not the young woman Lynn had become, but but the glowing infant she had held in the Nevada desert all those years ago. Time had passed so quickly, filled with school plays, science fairs, and quiet moments of wonder as Lynn discovered the world around her. "Make a wish, honey," Alina said, trying to keep the emotion out of her voice. She knew that after today nothing would ever be the same again. Lynn closed her eyes and made her wish, then opened them with a smile that could light up the entire room. "I wished for answers," she said quietly. "I've been having those dreams. Again, Mom. The ones about the red sky and the crystal cities." Lena's heart clenched. Lynn had been having these dreams since she was a small child. Fragments of memories from a world she had never seen but somehow remembered. Lena had always told her they were just dreams, but she knew the truth was much more complicated. "There's something I need to tell you," Alina began, her voice shaking slightly. "Something I should have told you a long time ago." They sat together on the couch where Alina had spent countless hours reading bedtime stories and helping with homework. Lena had grown into an extraordinary young woman, brilliant and kind, with an intuitive understanding of science that amazed her teachers. She had never quite fit in with other kids her age, but she had found her place in the world through her love of astronomy and her dream of someday traveling to the stars. "You know how you've always felt different from other people?" Alina asked. "How you can sometimes sense what others are feeling, or how you seem to understand complex problems without even trying." Lynn nodded. "I thought everyone could do those things when I was little. It took me years to realize that other people couldn't feel emotions like colors or solve equations by just looking at them." Alina reached into her desk drawer and pulled out the crystal that Queen Zarotho had given her 18 years ago. It still glowed with the same soft light, pulsing gently as if it were alive. "Your abilities aren't unusual for someone like you," Alina said carefully. "They're normal for someone who isn't entirely human." Lynn stared at the crystal, her eyes widening. "What do you mean?" Alina took a deep breath and began to tell the story she had kept secret for so long. She explained about the signals from space, about Queen Zarathal and the dying world of Zarian, about the impossible choice that had led to Lynn's birth. "You're saying I'm half alien?" Lynn asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're half Zarian," Alina corrected gently. "Your biological mother was a queen who loved you so much that she was willing to give you up to save not just your life, but the lives of her entire people." Lynn was quiet for a long time, turning the crystal over in her hands. Alina could see the gears turning in her brilliant mind, processing information that would have overwhelmed most people. "The dreams," Lynn said finally. "They're not dreams at all, are they? They're memories?" Alina nodded. "Your mother placed some of her memories in that crystal, along with the complete history of your people. She wanted you to know where you came from when you were old enough to understand." Lynn held the crystal up to the light, and Alina watched as it began to glow brighter. Suddenly, the room filled with holographic images, star charts, alien cities, and the face of a beautiful woman with Lynn's eyes. "My mother," Lynn whispered as Queen Zarathal's image appeared before them. The recording began to speak in the musical language of the Zirians, but somehow Lynn understood every word. "My dearest daughter," the Queen said, her voice echoing across space and time. "If you are seeing this, then you have grown into the woman I always knew you would become. You are the bridge between our worlds, the hope that love can exist between any two beings, regardless of how different they may seem." The message continued, telling Lynn about her heritage, her abilities, and the choice she now faced. The Zirians had survived their planet's destruction, finding a new home among the stars. They had built a new civilization, one that was stronger and more adaptable than before, thanks to the knowledge gained from their contact with humanity. "You can come to us if you choose," the Queen's image said. "You can learn the ways of your people and help guide us as we explore the galaxy, or you can remain on Earth, serving as our ambassador to the human race. The choice is yours, as it should be." Lynn looked at Alina with tears in her eyes. "Did you know this day would come?" "I've been preparing for it since the day you were born," Alina admitted. "I knew that someday you would have to choose between two worlds, two families, two different paths for your life." "What do you think I should do?" Alina smiled through her own tears. "I think you should follow your heart. You're not just my daughter, or your biological mother's daughter. You're your own person, with your own dreams and your own destiny." Whatever you choose, I'll support you. Over the following weeks, Lynn spent hours with the crystal. Learning about her heritage and the advanced civilization her people had built, she discovered that the Xerians had been quietly helping humanity for years. Sharing technology through carefully hidden channels, clean energy systems, medical advances, and space exploration breakthroughs all had been gifts from a grateful alien civilization. But Lynn also learned that her people needed her. As the only human-Xerian hybrid, she was uniquely suited to help both species understand each other. She could serve as a translator not just of languages, but of cultures, helping to build the foundation for a future where humans and aliens could work together. "I want to stay on Earth," Lynn announced one evening as she and Alina watched the sunset from their backyard. "But I also want to help my people. I want to be the bridge that Queen Zarathal hoped I would become." Alina felt a surge of pride. "What does that mean?" "It means it's time for the world to know the truth," Lynn said firmly. "No more secrets, no more hiding. If we're going to build a future together, it has to be based on honesty and trust." Lynn became the first official ambassador between Earth and the Xerian civilization, revealing her true nature to the world in a historic address to the United Nations. The reaction was mixed. Some people were frightened, others were fascinated. But most were simply amazed that they were no longer alone in the universe. With Lynn's help, formal diplomatic relations were established between the two species. The Xerians shared their advanced technology openly, helping humanity solve problems like climate change and energy shortages. In return, humans offered something the Xerians had never experienced: the chaotic, beautiful diversity of a species that had evolved to adapt to any environment. Alina watched her daughter grow into her role as a bridge between worlds. Feeling proud of the woman she had become, Lynn had chosen to remain on Earth, but she made regular trips to the Xerian colony world, strengthening the bonds between the two civilizations. "Do you ever regret it?" Lynn asked one day as they worked together. "In Elena's laboratory, it's taking such a huge risk for a stranger's child." Alina looked at her daughter, now a confident young woman who was helping to guide humanity toward a brighter future, and smiled. "Never. You were never a stranger's child to me. Mine. From the moment I held you in my arms, you were mine. I've gotten to be part of something incredible. Proof that love really can transcend the distances between stars." Lynn hugged her mother tightly. "Thank you for giving me the chance to be both human and Xerian. Thank you for teaching me that being different isn't something to hide from, but something to celebrate." As Alina held her daughter, she thought about Queen Zarathal, somewhere among the stars, building a new world for her people. The Queen's sacrifice had not only saved the Xerians, it had opened the door to a future where the children of many worlds could grow up knowing they were part of something larger than themselves. Love, Alina realized, really could change the universe.